Sri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Sai SATCHARITRA, an insight. Episode 186. My humble prostrations at the lotus feet of our Sadguru Sai. By the divine grace of Sai, an attempt has been made to translate the gist of the divine discourse of Sri Ramanathan brother telecasted in Sai TV. This is purely done to share the glory of Sai and his divine teachings with more insight to the aspirants. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnuhu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Devotees, we closed the previous episode with the note that Nulkar had placed two conditions to Nana Sahib Chandorkar and said if it is assured that these two will be fulfilled, then he would come to Shirdi for Sri Sai Baba's darshan. The conditions were, firstly, to get a Brahmin cook in Shirdi to prepare his food, and secondly, he should get high quality Nagpur oranges to offer it to Sri Sai Baba. Nana laughed listening to these conditions, as he was certain that this must be a part of the divine sport of Sri Sai Maharaj, and said, by Sri Sai's will, these conditions can be accomplished in no time. Nana was sure that Nulkar will be drawn to Shirdi by Sri Sai Baba. The day the above conversations took place between these two, that night a Brahmin cook approached Nana Sahib seeking a job. The cook thought Nana, being a Mamlatdar, through his influence he might place him in a job. Immediately Nana sent him to Nulkar. Thus the first condition was taken care. Nulkar was surprised at the turn of this event. It is interesting to know how the second condition got fulfilled. To Nulkar's utter amazement, a package containing 100 high-quality Nagpur oranges was found in front of Nulkar's house, and the sender was unknown. He was very happy to receive this parcel, and slowly his mind also began to ponder on this chain of events. He gained faith that Sri Sai Maharaj must be possessing great powers, that he is fulfilling his desires, though they were not conveyed to him in person. Nana and Nulkar started to Shirdi. At this juncture, it is believed that Nulkar placed two more conditions. He said, I will be in western attire, that is, dressed up in suit while going for Sri Sai Baba's darshan. You should not object to it. Next, I will come to Shirdi only with the attitude of a tourist, so you should not compel me to give any money as dakshana or prostrate before Sri Sai Maharaj. Nana gently agreed to these terms of Nulkar. Hence, Nulkar accompanied Nana Sahib Chandorkar to Shirdi. Upon reaching Shirdi, both stayed at Satewada. Nana was waiting for Nulkar to get ready to go for Sri Sai Baba's darshan, with the anticipation that Nulkar will dress up in suit as per his condition, as he wished to maintain his prestige as a sub-judge. To his surprise, Nulkar came dressed up in Marathi culture with a white kurta and dhoti, completely contradicting his own condition of wearing suit. Nana understood that Sri Sai Maharaj is working on Nulkar. Both went inside Dwaraka Mai. Nana, as per his usual practice, went straight to Sri Sai Maharaj and prostrated at his feet. As soon as Nana fell at Sri Sai Baba's feet, in no time Nulkar also went and prostrated before Sri Sai Maharaj. At that moment, Sri Sai Maharaj got enraged and looking at Nana, pointing to Nulkar, asked, "Hey Nana, from where you got this silly man?" Nulkar felt humiliated. He is a person holding a high rank in the society and would always want to uphold that dignity among the people, whereas Sri Sai Maharaj uttered the above statement when Dwarakamai was packed with devotees. Then Sri Sai Maharaj took Udi in his fingers. He had a very special way of applying Udi to the devotees. Sri Sai Baba would take a pinch of Udi, held it between his thumb and forefinger, pressed on the area between the eyebrows on the forehead with his fingers, then would lift his hand and kept the rest of his four fingers on the head. This way, Sri Sai Maharaj opens the Agnya Chakra, and by doing this, he gives a spiritual push to the devotees. Here too, when Nulkar bent before Sri Sai Baba and saluted him, Sri Sai Maharaj applied the holy ashes as indicated above and held Nulkar's neck with his one hand and shoved him back. The onlookers saw Nulkar fallen near the pillar at the masjid, but Nulkar felt as though he had fallen into an ocean of joy. He was blessed with a divine experience. He had almost lost all consciousness and was in an ecstatic state. He experienced divine joy from the touch of Sri Sai Baba. At that very moment, he understood that Sri Sai Baba was his spiritual guru, and Shirdi, being the abode of his guru, will be his destination. And this place is the gateway to Mukti. Following this, Sri Sai Maharaj uttered the most significant professment. His Satyanash will happen here. The term Satyanash means great destruction. By using this word in a subtle manner, Sri Sai Maharaj indicated that Nulkar's death will occur at Shirdi. As declared, Nulkar attained Sadgadi at Shirdi. After obtaining many divine experiences as bestowed by Sri Sai Maharaj, Nulkar decided to come and settle down in Shirdi. He reached greater heights in the spiritual realm and wished to depart his life at Shirdi, which fructified by the complete grace of Sri Sai Baba. After gaining the first and the most significant divine experience, Nulkar was convinced that Shirdi is the place of his Guru. Both Nana Sahib Chandorkar and Nulkar went back to the Vada. Nulkar was pondering on the series of events that took place in Shirdi and thought that when Sri Sai Maharaj treated everyone kindly, why was he angry upon him? Nulkar even shared his mind with Nana, for which Nana said, "Do not worry. Sri Sai Maharaj is an ocean of love. He will always do good for you. He will never forsake you. So, please don't worry about the declaration made by Sri Sai Baba." In this context, the word Satyanash denotes the annihilation of all your past sins and bad karmas. Sri Sai Maharaj's approach will replicate that of a Siddha Purush and would use parables in his conversation. Some of them are not easy to comprehend, hence you need not worry about that. Devotees, we are aware that the rebukes of Sri Sai Maharaj are never upon the person but directed to the bad karmas or the ailments suffered by the person. Nana Sahib Chandorkar has been a witness for many leelas portrayed by Sri Sai Maharaj in this connection. Hence, he assured Nulkar to not lose heart but have unswerving faith on Sri Sai Maharaj, as his association will bestow greater benefits upon him. Nulkar was not completely convinced on this reply. With a confused state of mind, they both went to bed. They both slept, and suddenly Nulkar got up from his sleep and wanted to eat pan. He had the habit of eating pan. This is a most common habit among many Maharashtrians. Those years there were hardly any shops in Shirdi. Moreover, it was already close to midnight, so there is no chance to get it. Nana Sahib Chandorkar was lying beside him. Nulkar called him and asked if he has any pan or at least betel nut. Surprisingly, Nana doesn't eat pan. So, he said he didn't have either of those items. Nulkar was having the urge to eat pan but didn't know how to get it. Exactly at that moment, at Dwarakamai, Sri Sai Maharaj called out a person and gave 4 beetles in his hand and said, "Go to Satewada. You can find an old man who is accompanying Nana. Give these beetles to him and say that I have sent it for him." That person came to Satewada and approached Nana, and Nulkar delivered the pan with the message as instructed by Sri Sai Maharaj. Nulkar was stunned to receive the pan. He now realized that Sri Sai Maharaj is omniscient and the most compassionate. This Leela brought a great transformation in the mind of Nulkar. He developed a steadfast faith and devotion upon Sri Sai Maharaj. From then, he made frequent visits to Shirdi. Though he was working in Pandharpur, he came for every holiday or whenever he took leave for Sri Sai Baba's darshan. His mind was engrossed in the thoughts of Sri Sai Maharaj and regarded Sri Sai Baba as his own mother. Heart to heart, he addressed Sri Sai Baba as Ai in Marathi. It means mother. Once he developed eye disease. It gave him excruciating pain and resulted in double vision. That is, the images he saw looked double. He had watery eyes and irritation. Vision was not proper. He consulted many eye specialists but found no cure. So he took leave and went to his native town Jalgaon, as his brother was a doctor and his own son by name Vaman Rao was also studying medicine. Nulkar believed since his family has medical background, they will help him to get rid of this eye pain. But none could suggest a remedy, and this disease became a great impediment for him in performing his official duty. Guru Purnima or Vyasa Purnima was nearing, but Nulkar doesn't know the significance of this special festival. He knew it was Purnima, but he had an unknown and inexplicable thought kept reverberating in his heart that if he will be in Shirdi during Purnima, it will do him good and Sri Sai Maharaj will heal his eye disease. He decided to go and stay for at least 2 days in Shirdi. Owing to the unbearable pain in his eyes, he kept his eyes closed and covered it with a bandage. He went to Satewada and was lying down there. As the eyes are covered, he couldn't see anything. So he didn't go to Dwarakamai for Sri Sai Maharaj's darshan. Though he was in Satewada, his heart was in Dwarakamai. He was throbbing to have the darshan of Sri Sai Maharaj. Heart to heart, he kept pleading Sri Sai Maharaj thus, Ai, will you not give me your darshan? Oh Ai, please shower your mercy upon me. Won't I get to see you today? He did Sri Sai Namajapa continuously. This continued for 2 days, and on the 3rd day, Sri Sai Maharaj began his divine sport. He placed his hand on his own eyes and said to Shama, Shama, my eyes are paining severely. As soon as Sri Sai Baba spoke these words, the pain of Nulkar began to subside. Nulkar was able to feel the relief. He was confident that his eyes will get cured. For the past 2 days, he had been repeating the holy name of Sri Sai Maharaj incessantly, and because of which his pain was taken by Sri Sai Baba. So, without any treatment, Nulkar's disease was completely cured. Immediately Nulkar got up and came to Dwarakamai for Sri Sai Baba's darshan. The moment Nulkar saw Sri Sai Maharaj, his eyes were brimmed with tears because Sri Sai Baba's eyes were swollen and was red in color, just like the eyes of Nulkar. The all-compassionate Mother Sai has taken the disease upon him and suffering for the sake of his devotee. Shama was unaware that Sri Sai Maharaj has taken Nulkar's eye disease on him. He told Nulkar, Sri Sai Baba complained of eye pain and suddenly his eyes turned red and it's watery. But Nulkar knew what made Sri Sai Maharaj to suffer like this. Nulkar's heart melted seeing the love of Sri Sai upon him. His throat choked and his heart was brimmed with emotions. He ran to Sri Sai Baba, clasped the lotus feet, cried out loud, Oh my Ai, the most merciful one! You have taken my disease upon you and relieved me from suffering. What can I do in turn for all the love you are showering upon me? Devotees, isn't this an amazing experience? This miracle strengthened the faith and devotion of Nulkar upon Sri Sai Baba. Devotees, I have a connection to this miracle which I would like to share with all of you. After 4 years, this May 2022, we were blessed to go to Shirdi for Sri Sai Baba's darshan. Our group consisted of 8 members from our family. We had booked direct flight from Chennai to Shirdi, and on the early morning of the day we had to start our journey, we got a message from the airlines that our flight, which was scheduled to 2 p.m., got postponed to 4 p.m. We were not very happy to hear this because our stay in Shirdi will become even more shorter. Meantime, we have been trying hard to reserve for Aarati through online from the Sansthan website. But for unknown reason, the website wasn't working properly, and when it opened, in no time all the slots were filled up. As per our schedule, we were supposed to land in Shirdi on Thursday evening. Owing to flight delay, we decided to book darshan and Aarati for Friday and participate in Chavadi procession on Thursday. With this plan in mind, we reached the airport to hear the disappointing news that the flight is cancelled and scheduled for 7 p.m. All the passenger devotees were so upset and frustrated like us. We kept writing Sai Namam and doing Nam Japa, pleading our Sadguru Sai Maharaj to bless us with his divine darshan without any more hurdles. At 7 p.m., we had another shocking news from the SpiceJet employees that this flight will only land in Nasik, and from there we will be provided transportation to reach Shirdi by road. All of us were shattered hearing this. Many passengers cancelled their tickets and ended up with hot arguments. They screamed out their agony of missing Sri Sai Baba's Arati and Darshan and Chabdi procession on a Thursday, for which they have booked through the Sansthan website. Just then, we realized that this was the reason why, though we have been trying day and night for the past 1 week to book our slots for Thursday Duparati and Darshan, Sri Sai didn't let us get them. Now, taking the events as Sri Sai Maharaj's will, we continued our journey, and by the time we reached Shirdi, it was Friday 1 a.m. We got down from the air-conditioned minibuses arranged by the SpiceJet. We stepped on the holy abode of our Sadguru Sainath Maharaj with a sigh of relief. Lo, the Dvajastambam in the Lendibog was glimmering in the reflection of the lights. Wanted to run to Dwarakamai and place my whole being at the holy feet of our Lord Sri Sai Maharaj and roll on the floors, expressing my joy of being in the holy land. As I was lost in my thoughts, in no time I heard my elder son calling out, "Mama." He was hardly 2 feet behind me. I turned towards him and he collapsed, somehow pushed himself to sit on the chair that was on the platform. I'm still wondering who kept that chair ready for him to sit. Of course, none other than our loving Saima. My son was extremely exhausted and had severe headache. Sai Grace, we were just couple of steps away from the hotel Temple View, where we had made reservations for our stay. We helped him to reach the hotel room and everyone settled in their rooms. I asked my son if he wants any painkiller. He said he will be fine if he sleeps. We have been on a pilgrimage for the past 1 week to places like Tirupati, Tiruvannamalai and now in Shirdi. And that was the reason for his exhaustion. So we thought he will be fine if he rests well that night. I and my sister just rested our back for an hour, and around 3:30 a.m. we both got ready and flew to Dwarakamai. It is so unfortunate that owing to COVID restrictions, we cannot go inside Dwarakamai during the temple hours as we desire. Also, one cannot step into the Samadhi Mandir complex, which means to Gurusthan, Lendibog or Chavadi without the darshan pass or through the free darshan queue. Early in the morning, many devotees like us were standing outside Dwarakamai watching the Dunima. Then the eyes were pleading for a clear darshan of our Sri Sai Maharaj on the holy stone. So we tried to peek through the railings and try to have a glimpse of Sri Sai inside the sanctum sanctorum. Then we both decided to go and have the divine darshan of our Sri Sai Maharaj at Samadhi Mandir. So joined the free darshan queue. We were also concerned that we should be coming out of the darshan before 7 a.m. as our family members will be waiting for us in the hotel to come for our reserved darshan. We had a hearty darshan of our beloved Sadguru Sai Maharaj. Lo, when we came out of the Samadhi Mandir, it was exactly 7 a.m. Thanking our Sri Sai Maharaj for this blessed darshan and prompt timing, we ran quickly towards the hotel. Everyone were ready except my older son. When I went inside the room, My husband told me that my son got temperature and is unable to even open his eyes. I was very shocked to hear this, but knew our Sri Sai Amma will not forsake us. So I told my husband and others to have their breakfast and go for darshan. Not to worry about me and my sister as we just had our darshan. They all went, and when I came close to my son, he was sleeping with high fever. Even the blankets were hot. He is 21 years old. I gently touched him. He opened his eyes and said, he has terrible headache and unable to even lift his head or open his eyes. He said with tears, I'm so sorry, Mama. He knew what Shirdi is for our family and how much we have been longing for this day. How painful it would be for us to miss darshan of our Sadguru Sai, that too being in Shirdi. We were lodging right behind the temple complex but unable to go for darshan. Isn't this a tormenting situation? And we cannot miss this chance of having darshan because in 3 days he had to fly back to United States. Usually whenever we go to Shirdi, after a blessed darshan, we will have our meals and then everyone in our family would go to the hotel to rest for a while. But I will go to the room only in the night for a couple of hours to refresh and change my clothes because I would love to be either in Guristan or in Dwarakamai from the early hours of morning until the temple closes in the night. Whereas now I am sitting in the hotel room helpless, unable to even take my son for his darshan. Isn't this the most painful situation for a mother and a daughter of Sri Sai? I told my son, don't cry or say sorry to me. If you can open your mouth and utter something, say Sai Ram and tell Baba heart to heart, Baba, please forgive me for my mistakes if any, but give me your darshan. Plead him for darshan. Saying so, I and my sister did Nam Japa incessantly. For 1 hour, there were no signs of improvement in my son's condition. I took a vow to Sri Sai Maharaj and with tears pleaded Sri Sai to bless my son and make him step into his holy shrine and Dwarakamai. I had no questions in mind, like why it's happening for us, what have I done to endure this situation? Because I knew when great ones like Pujya Sri Narasimha Swamiji and many apostles of Sri Sai Baba had undergone greater challenges and miserable situations in their life, then what of us? We are not even a speck of dust at the holy feet of Sri Sai Baba. But all that I want is before we leave Shirdi, we need to have the divine darshan of Sri Sai. Let us undergo the pain and sufferings, but we want Sri Sai Maharaj on our side to overcome the difficult situations. After I took the vow, in no time, my son opened his eyes and said, I think I can manage to get up. Immediately we got him some hot water, slowly helped him to lift his head. He tried twice but failed. Then again we waited for some time. Now again he said he wanted to try getting up. We somehow managed to make him sit on the bed. Then with support he could brush and wash his face. We forcefully fed him some breakfast and gave him a tablet for fever and told to lie down for some more time. He was taking a nap. Meantime, our family members completed their first darshan and my husband came to check on us. Now we slowly helped my son to change his clothes, then holding him on both the sides, made him walk until the Samadhi Mandir complex slowly. Our all compassionate Sai Ma began to unveil his divine sport for us. Everything was set ready for us. Yes, one of our aunts wanted to offer dakshina to Sri Sai Maharaj, and since it was reaching a slab fixed by Sansthan, they offered us one VIP darshan and one VIP arati. Lo, with VIP pass, devotees can quickly reach the sanctum sanctorum of the Samadhi Mandir, so very easily we could all have our second darshan, while my son had his first darshan. We took some homemade sweets, jasmine flower and yellow chrysanthemum from Chennai to offer it to our Sai, and all of us offered them at the Samadhi Mandir. In fact, in the morning, as we were all disturbed owing to the sickness of my son, we totally forgot about the flowers. But when I was taking out the sweet boxes from my bag at the shrine, I happened to see the flowers. Though the flowers were inside the closed bag for more than a day in this extreme heat, they remained so fresh, full of fragrance, which was astonishing. Sri Sai Maharaj accepted our loving offerings. We have also reserved for Friday darshan through online and for Satyanarayana Puja, but we couldn't perform the Satyanarayana Puja owing to lack of time. While I was thoughtful about it and circumambulating the Gurusthan, my sister said, Sansthan staff is distributing the Sri Sai's Abhishekam milk and Satyanarayana Vrata Prasadam. Oh, we were in tears of joy and thanking our Sri Sai Ma for the unbounded love that she was showering upon us. We partook the consecrated milk and the suji pudding. As soon as we were done, it was time for Madhyana Arati. Again, we went through the VIP queue, and here another divine blessing of our Sri Sai Maharaj was waiting for us. Though the pass was for VIP darshan, owing to not many VVIPs, we were asked to occupy the most closest spot next to our Sri Sai Maharaj. What more can we ask for? Spellbounded, stood there forgetting the world we are in. While standing in the queue, there was enough crowd, and I wished to stand in one leg and participate for the Madhyana Arati, just like how Megha, the most ardent devotee, performed Arati for Sri Sai Maharaj during his mortal coil in Shirdi. But I felt there will not be sufficient space to do that because my other leg should be folded to the knee height and kept in L shape. My sister was trying to make room for me, but there was another family behind us with small kids, and the kids were standing next to me. So if I bend my leg, it will be almost to the height of those kids, and there is a chance that my feet might touch them. Moreover, I was concerned that during Arati, I might become more conscious on this and keep my focus here rather than singing the Arati and enjoying the presence of Sri Sai. At this juncture, we had just a minute left to start the Arati. Here is another beautiful Leela. Suddenly there was none on either side of me. I was so surprised, and when I looked around, the small kids sat down happily to take part in Arati, and it was just me in that spot. Wow, Saima, my heart rejoiced. As usual, my heart and soul immersed into the Arati. My heart froze and was enjoying the most ecstatic moment. After we came out of the shrine, we had our darshan in the most sacred Gurusthan, Dwarakamayi, Chavadi, Hanuman Mandir, Dattatreya, Shani and Lord Shiva. This way we spent all the half a day with our Sri Sai Maharaj, having 2 darshans and an arati in a row. After Sri Sai's darshan, my older son's condition improved. He had no temperature after that. He could eat his lunch without any trouble. We quickly went to the Sansthan store, purchased Peda Prasad and few puja items, came back to the hotel, packed our stuff and headed to the airport. Isn't this a divine sport of Sri Sai Maharaj? Though we went through a lot of distress, but ultimately all that we wanted was to have a blessed darshan, and we got that to our heart's content. As devotees of Sri Sai Maharaj, I agree that our heart longs for more and more. I am always greedy. I don't want to leave the Samadhi Mandir complex or for that matter even Shirdi. We always want to extend our stay, keep running inside Dwarakamai or fleeing into Mukh Darshan queue for that last glimpse, or trying to have a sight of just Sri Sai's divine face by standing near the small window. I can never say that I am ready to bid bye to our Sai Maharaj, especially in Shirdi. No matter how many times you see him, the more your heart craves for. But given a situation like what we went through owing to our prarabdha karma, just one darshan of Sri Sai Maharaj was a Himalayan blessing to us. That darshan spoke volumes about the love Sri Sai had upon us, his loving grace, his compassion for his children, his earning in showering his blessings, his willingness to embrace us and accept us as what we are and then fine-tune us as we should be. Finally, we boarded the flight to Chennai. I began to slowly ponder. We had never had such a short pilgrimage at Shirdi. Haven't faced any difficulty in these many years. This is the first time that things didn't go as per our plan. This reminded me of the podcast that I listened a week before our Shirdi trip. Let me put it in my own words. This is from Living the Teachings of Sai Baba. In that, Gautam ji said, we should not have a conditioned mind that only when the events in my life happens as per my plan, then Sri Sai Baba is listening to my prayers and is my guru. Instead, one should be open-minded to go by the plans of the Sadguru Sri Sai Maharaj and believe that his plans for me will be always good for me. I felt this trip was exclusively in the hands of Sri Sai Maharaj. That's why he never let us get any slots for darshan or arati on Thursday, as he knew that we will not reach Shirdi on time to participate. Next, contemplating on the situation, I began to think, my son didn't show any signs of tiredness in Chennai. What if my son would have got sick at Chennai airport? It would have been a tug of war in the heart, as we don't want to cancel the pilgrimage, but at the same time, the elders traveling with us might question his fitness to travel. Though I would be certain that Sri Sai Maharaj would provide him all the energy, not everyone will have the same depth of faith. Next, if my son would have got sick in Nagpur, what we would have done in the midnight. But he seemed to be all good there too. Until he stepped on the holy land of Shirdi, he was managing well, which means Sri Sai didn't want us to have any trouble until we reached his abode. The Maharaj had decided to annihilate the past karmas only in his abode, and it is so clear that a part of my son's prarabdha karma was annihilated that night through that suffering in Shirdi, and as parents we had to endure our part of suffering. What a perfect timing! If my son would have fell sick in Tirupati or Tiruvannamalai, moving forward with Shirdi pilgrimage would have been another greater challenge. All our trips were planned one after the other, but everywhere we had great darshans. Sri Sai Maharaj arranged for VIP darshans in all the divine temples, and in his abode Shirdi it was VVIP. My heart always longs to view the Chavadi procession. This time, one of our uncle accompanied. We were concerned about him owing to his age, health conditions, and long travel. Not sure if he would be okay to join for Thursday Duparati and then immediately stay for long time waiting in the road to watch the Chavadi. We were little anxious about him, though I was persistent that others should not miss this golden opportunity, but Sri Sai Maharaj didn't want us to have any confusions or differences of opinion, so Sri Sai didn't plan for it this trip. Aim of pilgrimage is to have a hearty darshan, which was very well taken care. We were all blessed with a blissful darshan. As I was doing this episode, Nulkar's plight and the mental torture he would have undergone staying in Satewada and unable to come for Sri Sai Maharaj's darshan at Dwarakamai is heartbreaking, can't be expressed in words. I can imagine how distressing it would be for one to miss the divine darshan of Sri Sai, that too staying next door, and cannot see Sai. Oh no, there is nothing depressing than that situation. But as Sri Sai Maharaj blessed Nulkar by taking his eye disease upon him and blessing him with his grace, so he must have taken my son's condition upon him and blessed all of us to have a blissful darshan. Devotees, for Nulkar, whatever Sri Sai Maharaj did a century ago while he was in his mortal coil at Shirdi, a similar Leela he did now for us from his Samadhi. With tears of joy, I am closing this divine sport of Sri Sai Maharaj that was experienced by our family. Getting back to the original thread, Nulkar is a sub-judge at Pandharpur, shouldered with greater responsibilities and had to resume his job sooner, but his heart was not willing to leave Shirdi. Hence, he beseeched Sri Sai Maharaj thus, Baba, I am not wanting to go to Jalgaon or Pandharpur. Shirdi is everything for me. I want to always remain here. Sri Sai Maharaj responded by blessing him, Allah bala karega. Omniscient Sri Sai Baba was aware that Nulkar has already attained greater position in the spiritual ladder, and he is wanting to detach himself from all worldly ties, which indicates that Nulkar is ready to attain liberation. Hence, Sri Sai Maharaj bestowed more experiences that Nulkar remain always in his vicinity. Those experiences are mind-boggling, and we shall heed to those in the coming episodes. Bow to Sri Sai. Peace be to all. Om Sai Ram.